Hi guys. So I guess today what we wanted to talk about was how to go about, in a way, starting a podcast and the reasons why we want to do it, and also how we are trying to find our mission statement and also our USP. So before we started recording, we kind of like tried to structure the discussion. So I think first of all we can start with why we wanted to start this podcast. So I think I guess I was the one who initiated it and kind of like talked you guys into it. So I would say the first time I actually thought of starting something was because of a conversation I had with like Nigel and Amiriel.
Am I the taller one?
Which one is Nigel?
I hope I'm the taller one.
Obviously, you guys can tell.
Okay.
You must see who
Great.
is bigger.
Look
Right?
like mini me.
So I'm looking at the computer screen and drawing. Yeah, so I remember this was at we were having the pizza at that place. What
Zaz Pizza.
yeah,
Shout out Zaz Pizza.
says pizza. Then I remember it was like a table. And we were here or eating pizza.
What?
The night
For those listening, YJ is drawing it on his screen that he's sharing with us right now, and it's challenging Picasso right now.
Yeah, it's a very, very basic drawing, I would say. But
I
I
would say
think
it's
it's doing its
abstract,
job. Yeah.
I
It's
think it
doing
does
its
its job. I
we
mean,
understand.
it's efficient. So so I think this was Nigel, Amiriel, and me. So I remember what occasion was it? I think it was Amiriel's birthday, or is it Nigel's
Was
birthday?
it?
Or it's just a meetup. Yeah. Anyway, so like Nigel was like, saying, I want to start a podcast because I think it's very interesting. Blah blah. The same reason everyone wants to start a podcast. Then I remember I was telling him it's not that difficult to start one, because a lot of people, like, I think they are. One thing that kind of is a barrier of entry for them is like equipment, which actually I don't think is that much of a barrier of entry. It's just that people don't really understand. So I remember I tried to like egg Nigel on and say, just use your phone and record first, and then everything else you just follow. But I think nothing happened from that conversation. But I think the idea kind of like planted the seed for something more. And so it was recently during this circuit breaker where we kind of saw everyone like stuck at home. Then we see on YouTube people were like talking more about like doing their recordings on Zoom and everything. So the barrier of like doing it is kind of has lowered. Like, see talk show hosts doing it and everything. So I thought, why not a good time to try a simple podcast, because like we've been all stuck at home, and I felt so much screen fatigue. Like, everyone's looking at screens all day, and the nice part of my day has always been going outside. If I exercising, even not even outside, even in the apartment, if I exercise, I just listen to a podcast. And I guess I started listening more, and I thought it would be a good. One thing I realized, I didn't hear much voices like mine or shared experiences, because it's dominated by a lot of Western. The charts or the well-known podcasts are a lot of Western podcasts. Of course, they're very good Singaporean ones. They are very popular, but the ones I was listening to did not have my voice or things I wanted to listen to really like represented. So then I thought of like Nigel and Amiriel and that conversation. So I just asked them, do you guys want to interested to start a podcast? And then at the same time also I was working with Vin we were helping a production company start a YouTube channel. So we also had come up with constantly brainstormed over a month or two about things to do and content to produce for this YouTube channel. And I had these ideas in my head, and I didn't want them to go to waste about things that could be done and things that people wanted to talk about. So that's when I roped everyone in. It's like, guys, let's just do it. Then knowing that Nigel is scared of microphones and its phallic nature, and Amir is a busy man, so I just went ahead and got them microphones before they could say anything.
That tactic worked really well though. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no, and suddenly like this thing just came to me like, hey, I just got your microphone, so can you please arrange for your own delivery?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks Rajay. I'm being pulled into a cult now.
Yeah, it's
That's how it starts.
yeah,
With a mic.
someone like tempts you, honeypots you into doing something.
You
And
definitely did.
yeah, and I thought removing that barrier of like entry, then that just like get everyone on a Zoom call and try at first, and I guess that's how it all started. Maybe Nigel, you can also share like why you actually wanted to start a podcast like those like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, so basically, I think one important thing that you missed out was that we each bring like quite interesting, quite diverse interests into this podcast. Like I'm very interested in local sports and all that. Well, you are of course some fitness freak guru, and then Vin is very interested in movies and stuff like that. And then of course Amirul he loves music and bread for some reason. So the reason why I initially wanted to start it was because I wanted to do mostly focus on music. No, not music. Sorry, on sports. And I wanted to give a voice to local sports people who maybe don't get a platform, or the regular platforms that you have right now. Everything is very well rehearsed, very vanilla, and you don't really get the honest conversations. So I was really inspired by Joe Rogan, of course, when he invites like MMA fighters, and then they can just talk for hours,
You can talk about
and
weed.
it's very and they talk about weed. There's no barrier to what they can talk about, and sometimes you find like really interesting stories that you wouldn't hear anywhere else. You wouldn't see it on a magazine, you wouldn't see it on a newspaper, you wouldn't see it in a documentary on them. They share like really random near-death experiences even. So that's when I shared that with YJ and Amirul. Then of course, they chimed in with their, oh yeah, it's so easy, why don't you do it? Then but then I guess I was really scared doing it. Like I was so focused on how it'll be received and why would people even want to listen to me. Then yeah, maybe Amirul, you can share what you thought about it.
I think for me it was mostly to support a friend because you're really like truly passionate about this subject. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, you've been talking about this for almost 2 years, and it revolves around the same topic every time. Hey, do you listen to this podcast? And then like YJ will egg you on first. Hey, Nigel should try it. Nigel, you should try it. I think you'll be great because you are. I think for me, I mean, being your friend, I see that you put things very well together. Like you can dissect a topic and you can really raise up some interesting points for it without like doing a lot of research, and you are very vocal in sharing your opinion for that. So I thought that you had a natural flair for it, and for me, I don't really follow a lot of podcasts, so I think my main podcaster, like the first person to sell me the idea was actually you, Nigel, in terms of like, it doesn't take a lot to showcase your own opinions. And but it's true.
How about Vin?
Then what about Vin?
I think I've been listening to podcasts for about 2 to 3 years now, and I never saw myself doing a podcast, but I think the more I was listening to podcasts and the more I had like ideas of topics in my head and wanted to express it in a certain way, then I was like, oh, what if I recorded a podcast? And it was something that I thought of, and like Nigel said, like I was like, but who want to listen to me anyway? So what's the point? And then it was brushed aside. And then, of course, when I was working with YJ, we actually wanted to start a podcast with that channel also. And then we were discussing a lot of podcast topics, and we all sat down and we recorded a test podcast. And that was like the first time that I sat down with a microphone in front of me, and it was a weird experience. But I think after that, I was like, oh man, I really wish I said certain things better. I wish I put certain things in this way instead of what I said, because I was editing it. So while I was doing that, actually another friend of mine started a podcast, and he just invited me to come on and just talk to him. And this was before I like bought this mic and everything. I was using my headphone mic. And he was like, just try your headphone mic, it's fine. And surprisingly, the quality was really good. And we talked for like 40 minutes about whether being productive during the circuit breaker causes unnecessary pressure on you, and then in the end you don't be productive. And it was a good conversation. It flowed pretty well. And after that, I was like, wow, actually, I was telling YJ, hey, actually, it's not that hard to start a podcast, you know. You just record, then edit it in a few hours. I mean, that was like was no video. It was just over a Discord call, so we weren't recording the screen or anything. It was just audio. And then we just record it and upload it to Spotify, and then within a few hours, it's ready to listen. And then he was like, yeah, actually, I've been thinking about starting a podcast. And then a few weeks after that, he asked me if I was interested after we stopped working for that channel. And I was like, yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, I'm not doing much else right now also. So, I mean, it's something that we can all put our mind into and, you know, just have the ability to put some of the ideas in our head into words, which is also a challenge, I think. And I like to challenge myself to do that more.
Yeah, I think like all of us have our own unique experiences. Actually, both unique and both relatable experiences that I think it's worth sharing. And thinking about it, what we probably want to like put out to the world, what I want to talk about is, I think mainly like share stories and our views on certain things that are happening around us, because I feel that a lot of what we consume as people, or like consumers of the media, a lot of it is from a different viewpoint than ours, and we don't see much of our own similar viewpoints a lot. Not only like, I don't mean like same viewpoints, but like similar, but also like a different spectrum of ideas. So I think what we can all, like four of us, I think what we also bring is a good mix and match of different views and thoughts, because all of us kind of, even though we want to do this for a similar reason, but we all have different views of the same thing, and we come from different backgrounds, and we all listen to different things. Like I asked like Nigel and Amir this question, like, is there a show in the past 10 years that we have all watched that is like that we all liked? And I don't think we came up with an answer. So I mean things like that kind of shows like the differences that we have, yet we can all come together and talk, have discussions about certain things, which I think is a good thing to share.
I think for me, like personally, because I'm driven by storytelling, right? Because when I grew up, all I watched was WWE, and then just the way they create the storylines.
All you watched.
No, seriously, all I watched
storylines
when I was young.
Drawing you in.
Monday night, Thursday night, that's all I watch. Monday night Raw and Thursday night SmackDown. And then the way they create the plot lines, right? And then suddenly, you know, some people turn babyface, which is a hero, and then some people turn heel, which is like the villain, and then they somehow become friends, and then they fall out again. Yeah, like the way they craft all these like narratives, right? It was really, really interesting for me, and that's why I thought, you know, if we can somehow do it in you know, we don't have to be script writers, right? We're just sharing like our life experiences and our thoughts on certain things, and finding out more about topics that we're interested in, right? We can also start storytelling in our own little way, what? So that was my main motivation, I guess. And YJ was the one who pushed it.
I think another thing that I saw or felt that at least like I could do also is learn more about what's happening around us. And this is like a reason why I need to read more, because I don't think I read enough about current affairs. Like I do read the news daily depending on what the topic is, but I feel like I need to do it more diligently. And if you're talking about things that are happening around the world, then, you know, at least I need to prepare for that and read more about what's happening.
No, I agree with Vince's points really, because like for me, I am very bad at managing my time, and like, you know, being put in the constraint like this, especially in a podcast setting, you are really forced to read up on a lot of matters, and you can like, you know, you can just screen pass through like every comments or every like what's it called, Reddit. I almost said RedTube. I wanted to say Reddit. Reddit thread.
Reddit thread. There are probably threads on RedTube also.
Oh,
comment
so you get yeah, the comment section is not as cancerous as Reddit, I would say. Anyway, but yeah, I think that's a very good point in raising that up, like, because you are forced to know a lot more and you become more aware if you are exposed to more things, right? If I can say that. And I think like this is also the reason for me like why I wanted to be part of this podcast is because I want to be on that journey of self-discovery as well. Personally for me is to like what Vince mentioned earlier is to like how do you think and portray and verbalize like what your thoughts into words are or something like that. See, I can't even do it right now. That's why I'm learning.
Rome wasn't built in a day, and even Joe Rogan didn't create his $100 million empire in a day. Like I was watching his first few episodes, right? He was actually quite terrible, and it was worse quality than this Zoom screen, and it was very pixelated, and they just ramble about conspiracies. I mean,
His interviewing
look where-
techniques have changed drastically.
so
If you-
significantly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Self-discovery,
Yeah.
telling stories.
Yeah.
It's like a
But,
trailer.
like, yeah. So in every group, YJ is always the pusher. Like he pushes us for fitness. He pushes us to go beyond our boundaries to start this podcast. He provides us
drink.
with all the tools. Yeah, and he gets people dancing too much, way too much, and like not remember the night before.
The enabler.
Yeah, YJ is a true enabler for things. So thank you, YJ, for forecasting this group of bandits, I guess. Yeah.
Why don't you
Yeah.
tell us like what we have agreed on our general direction and our vision for this?
So when we talked about this, I think one thing that we wanted to talk about a lot, or be one of the main themes is something like self-discovery, because I think we're all sort of we're all nearing our 30s, one sooner than the rest, but yeah, I think we all find ourselves in a peculiar position that we don't seem to know much about anything, yet we have to know things in a way. I don't know how to put it. It's like it's still such a like confusing position to be in. Like we are supposed to know things, but yet there are a lot of things we don't know. And I think we can all like, one thing we can gain from discussing about issues with each other is that we can learn things from each other also. And part of it is also part of that self-discovery is also we want to start talking to people that are more like subject matter experts, interviewing other people that definitely know more than us and have more interesting experiences than us, or different experiences even, and kind of talk to them, and from then on getting them to, and hoping that these conversations will shed some light on our own journeys to self-discovery. And also one thing is also to tell stories and also like share experiences in a fun way, because I believe that we're all fun people and we all have
Really?
that's what I believe. Whether it's true or not, we'll put it out
Thanks,
there,
man. Enabling me again to be fun.
and that's why I think we also we thought of the name Puckish, because it was literally something I saw in a book, and like I didn't know what the word was, so I googled it, and it was like something like playful or mischievous, which I think is a good way to go about life and like self-discovery and everything in a more like playful, not so serious way, because there's so many more serious things happening around us, and I think we need a less serious take on some issues out there.
YJ
Yeah.
is only more puckish when he drinks more alcohol, so more tequila.
So
more,
whatever you
more
hear
wine.
is my less puckish version.
That's why we plan on doing a podcast where YJ drinks more and more progressively.
Yeah, it can be called Puckish Max. And everyone just
Max,
That's
Max,
two
Max. Anyone says puckish drink. But yeah, and also like one of the main things I think we set out to do is to have fun. Like I don't know if like Amir and Nigel like can attest to it. So I know Amir and Nigel since poly, and Ngee Poly, so we did mass communication. So I think one of our things that we can choose to do is radio, and I don't know why I kind of like skewed towards it a bit more. And so I remember like I worked with Amir on our first like audio project, like radio drama.
Oh yeah,
we
we
were
did.
we were playing like the Beatles or
Ah.
something. Like I remember Hey Jude going on repeat in the digital audio workstations. Yeah, so those were like and that from there on we did a final year project, and that's when I did this thing called Radio Heatwave, which is our school radio station. One of the things I guess that I had an issue with myself was my voice and the way I presented myself. So like speaking and projecting myself out there, putting myself out there was something I always struggled with. And I think this is one of those things I'm trying to enable myself to practice and do more of, as to overcome that barrier. So I'm taking this project as a way of bettering myself and also like conquering a fear I've always had for the past like 10-20 years.
Yeah, actually, I have a funny story to add about this. So Amirul and YJ teaming up for a radio for a radio project, right? Is the funniest thing on earth. That it's so memorable, right? When I told my first girlfriend, my girlfriend in Polytechnic, only yesterday, that we are starting a podcast with YJ and Amirul. Her first thing was, so many good memories. It takes me back to the radio days.
It was good memories. we were being very puckish then.
It was.
and I told her I'll always remember the first, the most memorable word that I ever heard Amirul say
Oh my
back then, and
What was it?
and granted, his public speaking skills wasn't great at that time. Very
No,
nervous. He talks very fast. So he tried to say the word apocalypse. I don't know why, but he said it with a very, very China accent. And it wasn't really China accent. It was a very weird sounding accent. He said apocalypse, and
have no
everyone
idea what
burst
to
out
do.
laughing.
We were all put through the fire, man.
Yeah.
In that radio
yeah.
class.
And but all these experiences, right, and all these funny memories, it kind of shapes how you present yourself also. Like for me, it has been ingrained in me to at least speak slower whenever I'm trying to talk, because like not the way you think and the way you verbalize things are not the same. So that took
Yeah.
a lot of training to get to where I am today. I mean, I'm not good yet, but still, I think it's a lot better than 10 years ago, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we were also surrounded with many good personalities for radio.
yeah.
So we're kind of like suppressed in that way. But I think this is a good avenue to overcome that.
That's the beauty of podcasting, right? It's just like anyone can do it. You don't have to go and have a proper studio to go and project it out on the airwaves and stuff like that. It's like you can do it for yourself, or you can do it for anyone, and you just put it out there. So that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
like I the accessibility of it was what also drew me towards this.
Yeah, I
And
remember,
you don't have to
like-
play shitty music also.
I remember even for like Radio Heatwave, it was like we had to go into this glassed room where everyone can see and there's a big radio console in front of you. That was
That's probably why like people have like radio voices, right? Because it's like a performance in itself.
yeah.
It's we are on air now, and then all of a sudden their voice changed to like a welcome back to
Yeah.
You can be a DJ, Vin.
no
yeah,
no,
man.
no, no.
ASMR with Vin.
Yeah.
Make it super sexual.
We will
ASMR.
poll our
Apparently-
audiences for that.
Apparently ASMR is a thing that I need to do now since I'm part of this.
Yeah, that's part of the
Part of the
social
deal.
contract.
Why don't you share some of the topics that we have planned and some of the segments that we have also planned in addition to ASMR with Vin? What else have we talked about?
We have come up with a lot of like various topics they want to do. So like we all have our different ideas of what we want from this. So mostly we want to talk about, I think like I mentioned before, was like things related to our experiences and the environment around us. So we are playing around with the ideas of talking about starting with Singapore in general, like what's happening in Singapore. Like the first time we recorded an episode was about the circuit breaker and our quarantine experiences. And I guess moving on, we can talk a lot about things like schools in Singapore, race in Singapore, the media scene, the arts, the music, food. We all have different interests, and we can see that we can all bring a different take and not only a take but a subject matter experience in a way to it, because we're all into these different scenes a bit more than the other. Different segments, we also want to do more educational stuff, so we also like kind of did this thing where we separate into like 3 main categories. One is to educate, one is to inspire, and one is to entertain. So of course, whatever is able to be here would be the best. Like if everything we do is educational, entertaining, and inspiring, I think we'll do very well. But I think if we can, so the how we ideate these things is we kind of see what fits into what, and we try to overlap it as much as possible. And I think that's the best way to approach content for us in like a more in a simpler way, because there's a lot of ways we can just think of a topic and think it works, but is it actually like educational, is it entertaining, or is it even inspiring? If you can fit all 3, that's the best. If it's 2 out of 3 also, that's good. But we always have to think of what the audience wants to listen to also, because no one wants to listen to like the 4 of us ramble on. They could listen to anyone ramble on. We want to bring value to our audiences and try to fit it in something that will educate, entertain, or inspire them. And we also want to draw on each other's personality. So for like Nigel, he likes to rant sometimes, go on tirades, which I think he enjoys. It's part of his identity. So we'll on the podcast, as much as we can, we try to invite him to rant on about something. And for Amir, he's into bread.
I spent way too much on bread, man. I did a quick calculation, right? I think I spent like $230 this week on bread alone.
This week?
Fuck.
Yeah,
my
so I was panicking just now.
200 a
Like,
week?
hey, 230. Yeah, this week's
Wow.
expenditure was 230, and it was divided into like banana. So it was divided into like the different like types of bread and cake. So it was banana bread, lemon tea cake, croissants, donuts, sourdough donuts, and the different variations of the donuts, like with different fillings as well. So like
When
next
does
week
it
I
become an
pre-ordered.
addiction?
I
I
don't
think
know.
it is
Are
an
you a-
addiction.
Actually, Amir, this is an intervention.
Oh no, please. Yeah, I need that caloric stoppage from you guys and my friends.
Do you have
Yeah,
it all
it's
3 meals?
Sorry.
Do you have bread all 3 meals?
Let me think. I think I did yesterday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and supper. So it was a mix and match between the pastries that I ordered.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean you have a wide variety enough to have it on all 3 meals and not feel you're eating the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's why I never bought bread. Bread is a staple, I would say.
One is a bread,
More-
one is a pastry, one is a cake for each meal.
Yeah, precisely. They serve different enlightenment, I would say.
Wait, do you
Yeah.
remember the first bread that you had that sort of like that clicked in you, that made you go on this rampage?
I think I first discovered sourdough 2 years back, maybe in 2018, when I was still a nice chubby boy. Yeah, so like I would crave for bread almost every day, but I was very basic lah. I just ate gardenia, and what's it called? I don't know, like all your house brands and things like that.
Are you looking
So-
down on Gardenia? Gardenia
I'm
is
not,
awesome.
dude. I still use gardenia.
Gardenia
It's
has
a staple.
sourdough.
Okay.
No, they don't. But then like one day I just walked past Botanic Gardens and I saw, I mean like you cannot deny the smell of bread and how amazing they smell. Like it's fresh from the oven, and then like the garden is beside you. Botanic Gardens is just beside you, and like I swear I shit you not, it feels like a scene from Disney. Like the birds are chirping, everybody feels so happy walking out of the store, and everybody was so smiley, and it just attracted me to that. But my first bite of sourdough, I was like, wow, this bread is so hard, I cannot eat really. It's so tiring to eat.
Tiring.
So wait, which bread shop was this near Botanic Gardens?
It was at level 2 of Clooney Court.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was beside that burger place, and that was my
Okay.
very first experience with sourdough bread. And I didn't really like that experience because I was like, why you put in so much effort to eat? Like it should be effortless.
So then
Kind
what
of way.
changed? What made you, is it an acquired taste? Like you didn't like it at first but you kept thinking about it and then you have to go back and try it again.
Yeah. I think like every exercise, right? The next day I realized, why is my jaw feeling so tired from talking? Was it from talking, or was it from like what was the main cause of it? And then I realized it was from eating bread. Then I kind of got addicted to the chewing like sensation, I would say.
So it's working out lah. It's not really bread.
Exercising while eating.
Yeah, choose your mouth, and like and I had this issue of like chewing my food too quickly, and I realized that getting on this sourdough exercise, right, allowed me to really be more conscious of like my chewing habits. So I would chew it properly, and I felt like that was my first proper meal instead of like gobbling meals down. Yeah. And then like the rest is history lah. I just discovered it was a slippery slope, I would say, in terms of like discovering new bread places. And then it becomes an addiction lah. Some people have credit card addictions, right? Mine is mostly on fried chicken and bread.
Carb addiction.
Yeah, carb addiction.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
sorry
would
lah.
invite Amir to share more on his food and beverage experiences because he's very into craft.
Artisanal, I would say.
Artisanal.
I don't even know what the meaning of artisanal is.
It's fancy, okay?
Yeah, so you can I hope you feel the passion overflowing to your headphones. So yeah, if any of you have any questions or wanting to know any recommendations, you can definitely ask us. Amir will point you in the right direction. And for Finn, we made him the resident ASMR.
Why don't we tell why we came to this conclusion?
I think Nigel, you should explain yourself.
Actually, I don't even know why. I've never done ASMR before.
So when we first got our mics, right, and then we tested it out, and then we sent our recordings, right, and then you could hear Vin almost like orgasming from the text message. You could hear him say like, "Oh wow, the sound is so awesome, or the sound is so great." Like he fully appreciates how sounds are made.
Yeah.
And so we came to this idea that he should play around with these sounds, and maybe even narrate certain experiences that he's going through. So to reach out to all the ASMR fanatics out there.
I was very impressed by the quality coming out from the microphone because I was not used to that kind of sound quality. So like Amirul, right? The same thing. I was very impressed by it. Then I kept thinking about it. Then my ears kept aching. I was like, why? Why is it aching? Right, because I need to hear more of these awesome sounds coming out from these microphones. So yes, I'm also addicted in some ways. Are we all addicts?
I think so.
In a way, yeah.
YG is addicted to pain, right? I would say.
Yeah, I think more or
Pain,
less.
oh my god.
The more the better.
So what's YJ's USP?
YJ was gonna give a motivational quote of the day. Something that you see people like Jocko Willink, David Goggins, Cameron Haynes, all these people who have been on some podcast and another and talked about how they can break through pain barriers and conquer their inner bitch. Oh, sorry. Cannot say bitch.
I'll talk about my pain addiction. And
YJ is the philosophical thinker.
I'll enable everyone to go through pain.
Yeah, I think it stems from your authoritative stance in army also, right? You were the leader of many men, and you led them to many victories in terms of your speeches, and you have inspired people. I've heard of your stories, YJ. So you're the man from the east. I don't know what's your nickname.
The beast from the east.
It's a bit scary. It's a bit scary.
Yeah, he's a bit mental, I would say.
Yeah, isn't that the only way to live? Being a bit crazy.
No, I think there are many other ways to live.
I only know one way. A painful journey.
YJ, I would say, right, you have improved in terms of coming up with things. The last time we gave you an idea, right, you called us next team Dolphin Whipping Boys.
I don't think that was
for our football team.
I don't think that was just my creation. I wouldn't take full credit for it. I'm sure you guys played a part also.
We had zero say in it. it was always you enabling us for things again. So
you should explain to Vin what next team Dolphin Whipping Boys.
yeah,
Next team Dolphin.
yeah,
Whipping
whipping boys. So
Yes.
the origin of this, right, was that we were supposed to be competing in a futsal tournament that was organized by Ngee Ann Poly.
I think competing is a strong word.
Yeah, and
We were
and our
participating.
our faculty, right, has a very good tendency of finishing lah. So like the expectations are very low already lah. So the name kinda like alludes to that we are whipping boys. But then YJ being YJ, he was being whipped around by his girlfriend.
Then
then,
girlfriend.
and- yeah, and he wanted to include her favorite animal as like a sponsorship, kinda like shout out
Tribute.
kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Hence
that's-
the Dolphin.
Hence
Yeah,
the dolphin.
yeah.
And
Next team,
next team was because we are just ready to lose lah.
Wait,
And
yeah,
then
so
next
you
team.
auto next team lah.
yeah. Next
yeah.
team,
That's a pretty creative team name.
Yeah, we
Was she
couldn't
happy that
agree
you
on
put
one.
a dolphin in also? Did it work?
eventually they broke up, so obviously
So
not
probably
happy
didn't
enough.
work. Citing that this is the main reason for it, right?
Yeah, obviously.
You guys lost too fast.
Yeah.
and
Didn't
too
uphold the
often.
name of the dolphin.
Ah,
Disgrace
oh
the
well.
dolphin.
And Dolphins are too smart, we are too stupid.
we finished
Yes,
last
but
twice.
That's the only way to start, man. That's the only way to improve. The only way is up.
And the best thing was we brought the most supporters, the most girl supporters, by the way. So all the teams were jealous of us because obviously we had the best looking girls, right, in the entire school, and we brought
Oh
all
yeah,
of them.
mass comm.
Yeah, and we came in
And
last.
guys.
The score was irrelevant.
Wow.
We finished with style.
And now we have stories to tell 10 years later.
That's
Imagine
true.
we finish first. There's no stories. Like it's too
That's
competitive.
boring, right? Yeah. That's like
Like-
typical, like the
Yeah,
last
one
dance.
of,
I mean,
one of those.
It's one of those feel-good winning documentaries. Boring.
And you know how some football movies especially, they always have this they unearth this unknown gem from the far flung regions of the earth, right? And then this unknown gem turns out to be a superstar, and that's what we thought we were unearthing. Every single year, we found a new player who so happened to be in mass comm, right? And we put this in our heads that he is better than the rest of the competition.
You know what were the
And then-
selling points of that or not?
Long
I
hair.
played school team one. I played school team last time.
Oh, that means you must be the next superstar already.
And those words were like G's worthy to Nigel. He was like, "Oh my god, come play for us," and he
Yeah.
will kick the most useless member.
Yeah.
And then like,
How many players do you have in your team? It's 5 aside, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
5
so.
aside, and we had 2 subs, and I'll kick out the whoever's failing us, right, and then invite this person that we have never seen play before.
Just because he said school team,
Yeah, he said school team, and we thought, okay, he's our star player now, and then he turned out to be the most useless fucker, but he's still our friend.
sorry guys. Can I just highlight that our first win as a podcast quadruple. What is a group of 4 called?
Quartet.
Quartet, yes. Podcast quartet. See, I need to ask Nigel how do you even pronounce this word. Yeah, we have 10 podcast downloads now.
Yeah, I got that email also.
Oh.
Well, I think
So-
it was all YJ, right? He was trying to
We're on the
download
way
it
up.
on all his devices, on Victoria's devices.
We're on the way up, man.
Yeah, we're on the way up. Yeah. See, it's not too hard to start a podcast, right, guys?
We're going to be adding zeros
Yeah.
on the daily.
the
How
front.
come I don't get this email, by the way?
I don't do you accept anything I send to you.
Nigel, I think we can also type.
You haven't even looked at my
Nigel is
Google
also-
Docs yet, right, Nigel?
Yeah.
The Excel sheet. Your name is not in there. Piece of.
He's very bad with technology. He's very like backdated with the times, and the way to reach him is through like pen and paper and a pigeon.
So I think one thing that happened recently, so we had listeners, and our very kind listeners gave us some feedback.
Yeah, so I sent out a few test balloons, and then test balloons came back. Basically, what they said was some good, some improvement points. I think we start with the good stuff first, lah. Okay. So they said that we actually our sound quality is really good, and our video quality is acceptable given the circumstances. Some of the bad stuff.
Is there only one good thing?
Good
That's good
sound
enough. You know why?
quality. Yeah.
We didn't even have the mics at that point with the episode 1, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's only upwards, man.
Yeah. Only hours from here. Okay, so some of the things to improve on. I think we also need to address this lah. 3 of them have said that podcast is too long. It seems like it's impossible to finish if it's 1 hour. I mean, regarding that, right? To be honest, like in my opinion, long form content is why I gravitate towards it, because you tend to find interesting pointers when you are allowed to spread out your time to actually talk about it, to actually maybe even think about it while you're talking, and also so that's why I think long form podcast it is yet to taken a foothold in Singapore, because a lot of our content that we consume is very bite-sized and very quick and to the point. I think this is something that's going to set us apart from a lot of these other content creators. Hopefully, we will be more succinct in the way we talk. So actually, that goes to our next point, where we have to be a little bit more structured in how we plan all these talking points. I don't know what do you all think. That's
I
about
agree
it,
with
actually.
that point that because when I was editing it, especially the first episode we did, we were all finding our feet. Yeah, like, to be honest, like I also wasn't very sure like what the structure was, and all of us were like trying to have a conversation, but I do think we need to have more like a tighter topic, and then we have a rough idea of what questions we'll be addressing throughout the episode, and then each of us can have that on our screen and maybe say like, okay, like after we've talked about a certain thing for a certain number of minutes, we can go to the next question and go to the next topic, so that is a constant flow and there's not like an over indulgence in a certain topic.
I think we have to find a balance between structure and also branching off to different topics organically, and we definitely don't want to stifle that freedom of expression in a way. So I guess the main thing I see from that, I will take from that, is balance.
The last point of feedback was maybe more effort into editing. I think that one, it takes a lot of time, and
I think
we will
because
consider
that was from the video, the YouTube channel. But I think the main thing we have to focus on is that it's audio mainly, and that the YouTube platform is just a means of people discovering us, another way for people to discover us, and we just want to package it nicely for that potential discovery. Yeah, I mean, but point taken. Yeah, I think someone also mentioned, like one of our fans mentioned about consistency of uploads.
She mentioned that the even celebrities, right, who have YouTube channels, the reason why it gains traction is because they keep uploading every week without fail. They upload at least 1 or 2. They are very disciplined in that sense.
I guess for us, what we have to keep in mind is that this project won't blow up in 1 month. Like, it could blow up on the 90th episode or like 97th, 99th episode. By the way, we are all just putting this out there that we have a 100 episode goal by the end of the year. And
that's madness. Honestly, that's madness.
We're hoping that the 99th episode will be rock stars. I mean, because also I hear these things a lot. Like, once you hit that 1,000, that the 10,000 will come a lot quicker. They both come hand in hand to me, like consistency and quantity. If we can handle that, and then quality will come naturally, because we are all more well versed. If we want to invite better guests, they will see we have a library of content already, and that we know what we are doing. So I'm letting our audience know of our goal, so they can hold us accountable
on 31st December 2020.
Yes.
Check in and see where we are at.
YJ forgot to introduce us again, because we are only on our 4th episode and he didn't introduce us. So please give a proper ending.
So thank you for listening.
Please like and subscribe.
Yes, please like and subscribe. Thank you.
Bye.
And review. Apparently reviews help.